AudioPipe TXX-BDC2-12. Oh, that's nice. It even tells you vented 2 cubic feet. This one is the dual 4 version, so that means the gap is a little on the slim side. I also don't like this frame. It's got an edge to it, so when you pick it up, it cuts into my fingers. Oh. Cuts into my vagina. What I'm going to do is take these screws out. I wonder if that's for, is that a rubber thing? Is that for bottoming out? I don't think so. Maybe. But you can see it actually does fit. It's just very close. It's a little too close for comfort. I think it's gonna rub. So what I'm gonna do is actually, this is the dual 2 coil. I'm gonna take off 2 layers and then I'll run these as single 2s, which is what they end up being anyway when you have a dual 4 and you wire it in parallel. So I also don't like the configuration, it's not 180 degrees from one another. It's kind of a weird cockeyed thing that I don't know why they do, but it's dumb. I don't like it. So what I'm going to do is change the frame out. And then you just got to remove this. Is it a sticker? Let's see what it is. It looks like a screen print maybe. I'll get it off either way, even if I just paint it. And it looks like they have bolts that go through to hold it and keep it from shifting, which is actually a really nice thing to do. So if you can actually, I think AudioPipe, if I remember right, was out of Florida. AudioPipe is actually a subsidiary of Nippon America, which, if I remember, my rep at M&M Merchandisers, Nick Riley, shout out to him, he told me that Nippon America made their money selling gas stoves, like white gas stoves, to like third world countries because they didn't have any other way to. They would actually make their own charcoal and do it that way, and it was much cleaner, less fumes, especially when you're living in a hut or like Haiti and some sort of, I don't want to say uncivilized, but just, shitty conditions. So not as desirable conditions. So, but as far as a rebrand goes, I think these are worth more if I remove all the branding and then do them as a generic, because it is a really good woofer. It's not great as a under AudioPipe brand, because I think these are go for I want to say right around $100 each, which is really cheap. So because manufacturing cost on them is probably right around $40, and then they wholesale them out for $70-$80, and then you retail them. But they actually are one of those marketing direct companies. They only go through a big distributor like M&M Merchandisers, which I think is probably on its last leg. Typically most distribution, one of the largest distributors for car audio and electronics is Wholesale House. So you can probably find a lot of stuff through them. They might have another distributor in California or something like that, but you can easily find the other distributors. When you're looking in the Wholesale House catalog, it'll say cannot sell in Ohio, Missouri, whatever states. Those states have other distributors that have exclusive territory on that product, and that's why you can only if you're in that one of those states not on the list can you buy from Wholesale House. But Wholesale House is still by far the largest distributor as far as wholesale goes. But anyways, but that's what I'll be doing. It looks like they got is this a patent? That's cute. Again, it's an ornamental patent. It doesn't really do anything special. And even if it does, like, it doesn't. It's still just a subwoofer. So here's the other dead ones. I think I pulled the other one. They actually had a different style. Oh yeah, the other ones have the nipple in the bottom. Mosquito, get out of here. And these use the dish cap, which I was trying to locate over in China because I wanted to import it. You can import it as long as it's the same size, because typically what you're paying for is the die cut, and they may die cut these like it actually comes bigger, like a 300 millimeter, 12 inch, and then they die cut it to, for this smaller size, and then they go, okay, we want 1,000 in this diameter, and then they'll cut them all, and then that's the dust cap for this one. So, but they'll make a large one, and then they just throw away the waste or stuff like that. So. I think that was the review on this one. Otherwise, it's a really good motor, and it's actually bigger. Oh, that's what I wanted to compare it to, was the it uses the same coil as the 12-inch L7, which is the same as the CVX. And I think it's this one. Nope, that's a 15. I don't think I have any right now. Oh, there's one. Yeah. So this is a, what is this? Solo Barrack. What is that, L7, L5? Solo, I can't see it. You tell me. L5. Okay, so that's probably, nope, that's the small one. L5 was a little bit smaller. Anyways, it uses the 12-inch one, and I wanted to show you that the AudioPipe motor is actually better, and that tells you, you know, your value when kicker's scalping you. I don't feel any sorrow for you guys anymore, if you guys, especially when you guys love a brand like JL or Kicker or Rockford. I'm like, nope, all that shit's made in China, and they're just ripping you off. I don't. Some people get pissed off at me for. I'm like, I'm just the messenger, dude. I'm just the one telling you the bad news. I'm not. I certainly don't mean you ill will or harm or anything like that. I'm not here to scalp you. I'm here to inform you so that you don't get scalped. So this is one of my favorite woofers, is the Rockford Punch HE and the HE2. Copper 2-inch coil. Not very big on the magnet, but it plays to 30 hertz. I think I like the HE2 better. I think they just went with a little bit bigger magnet on the second version, which I have. The boys are here painting the roof. It's been 6 years since we first got it done. I paid 10 grand for let go, to get the roof foamed. Oh, they changed the coil too. It uses a bigger coil, which I think is probably a full 2.5 inch and a little bit heavier motor. And this is just to verify. Where does it say? Maybe there's a little sticker. There it is. Yeah, the Punch HE2. So, and they boosted it up to 400 watts, which I think the other one was like 300 watts. So, and most of that is just because the coil is larger and it just has more surface area. The venting below the spider's not that great. It's more decorative than functional. And then, of course, you can see they use the rivets, which is much, much cheaper than people assembling it with screws. So you just have machines do it. Cute boot, but this one is also really good too, this version. It just uses a bigger voice coil. Oh, I was telling you about that one. Yeah, I have some 18-inch frames. Oh, and I want to build some 15s as well using that motor. I haven't built a 15 yet on the Quad Vato Extreme motor. I think that was it. Sorry if I'm a little distracted today. I got a lot of stuff going on. Sometimes it's already 6 o'clock and these guys should be out of here, but they're like, just let us finish. I'm like, okay. So, because Taz is doing trade, and so I get to make them let's get that little Nissan out there. Oh, that's what I wanted to do, was this one. It's got a little Nissan extended cab that I want to do like 2 15s in, so you can still it'll blow, it'll do like a hair trick, but you still got to have it for gear. So the newbie taped this up. I was like, you missed the gap. The gap was what you're supposed to cover, like that, to keep debris from getting in the gap. So actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and pause this because this should be its own video. This is, of course, the Power HX2, which I'm going to pair up with a Rockford Punch amp 225.2 that I have from the same era. So, because some people really like that, and I'm going to do my version of it, probably with like a red frame or something like that, something good looking. that was it. Yeah, so I'll title this one audio, what is it, AudioPipe, not Audio Pulse, AudioPipe, whatever that was, and that's my review of it. So it's a really good woofer, like I said. Again, if you guys can score magnets either from some sort of distributor or a shop, that's the best way to get started. I think that was it. Here's the Gislama Fister 15. Dual tooth is the last one I sold. Some guy in his BMW wanted 2 15s. I was like, okay, let's put them in the back seat. So we did 2 of these, and he did it on the Smart 3K, which is still a little too much for it because each one's only good for 800 watts. But 2 15s is a lot of cone area, and the box is ported as well. So I'm hoping that it'll be loud enough, and I think he plays Paiza music too, so it's really good for that, because the woofers that don't have a ton of excursion and a ton of power handling do have, typically have better mid bass. They just have like a their VAS isn't as small, it's larger, and so you end up getting this peak right around sometimes 40-50 hertz in some of the response, especially if you do a sealed box or whatever. But anyways, look, check out my post of that. What was that guy? Audio Judgment Audio, like some judgy guy. Anyways, look in the I think it's called Community. It's where I can post like posts on this channel for YouTube. Sometimes I'll just post like a news article or a link to something or whatever. But the guy did a really good video on the JL Audio 10W6 to show you guys what's the difference in response and SPL overall, and sort of passband frequencies for different boxes. So it was a 10W6 version, I think 3, and he did sealed, ported, and then a 4th order bandpass, and then a 6th order bandpass. I think that was it. Yeah. Oh no, and then he did a passive radiator version in a really small box, which I thought was really, really interesting. And it shows you how, which I thought was great, was you're using the mechanical and of course the expense of a passive radiator, because a passive radiator costs way more than just building a port, like an L port like this, slot port into a box. But the size that you were able, the volume, the external volume you were able to get back was insane, because I think as a regular ported box, it looked good in probably 1.5 cubic feet. And then the passive radiator one was 0.3 cubic feet. It was super tiny, but it had the same response. And so that goes back to the iron law. Was it Huffman's iron law about loudspeakers? Is that there's always a compromise, and I want you guys to understand that. Try not to listen to some I don't know, undergraduate piece of shit that thinks he knows everything and wants to design you a box for money. Do not ever pay for a box design. Jesus Christ. It's different if it's well, no, don't. Yeah. I don't even want to say Tom Moen. Tom Moen's good, but Tom Moen is mostly CAD monkey. So use them for CAD stuff. Don't necessarily waste CAD time building or designing a box when you can design it yourself using RE Audio Box Calculator. So that, again, I still use that one. You can download it, or I'll email it, or even put it on the Google Drive for you guys. And you just got to have Flash. Flash isn't supported in the browser anymore, but you can still download Flash from Adobe, which I think now is Oracle. You can just run it on your desktop that way. And that's what I do. And it just is a separate program that you can run. And it's if you don't guys remember Flash, it's just kind of an act. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do, but it's not trustworthy anymore. So I think all the browsers got rid of it, or got rid of support for it, which really sucks, because there's a lot of older, early 2000s, late 90s websites in the Internet Archive that run on Flash. And so I'm sure there's a workaround, and if somebody knows what it is, please post a tutorial so that I can do it. One of the websites I really liked was the Lightning Audio website in the late 90s and early 2000s, and it ran off Flash. And back then, Flash was a high bandwidth option, and so a lot of websites would give you an option. Do you want to watch the flash version of the website, or you want the the HTML, like if you're on a dial-up. And so the HTML, of course, is easier to download, but the flash website, they put all kinds of cool graphics and kind of cool stuff in it. And but anyways, you can check that out. I think that was it. Yeah, here's the other Audio Pulse version, or not, sorry, AP AudioPipe, which is the dumbest name. I mean, it's not as dumb as Mr. Music Man. That's a really dumb name. But AudioPipe, like what does that mean? What does that mean? And then the whole gimmick is pipes. Like, okay, whatever. So, and then for a while they were selling their amps with like weird, like Bazooka did. That's a really good amp, by the way. The Class D one. It's like a 1200 watt amp. It's really badass in the inside. I'll do a video on that, just to show the guts. Oh, that was the other one I wanted to show you. I'll do a separate video on it. I wanted to open up and show you the guts on this guy, which there's been like a zillion of those sold from fucking Walmart and Crutchfield, and it's a very light, minimalist amp, but it's got a lot of great features on it, and you can pick them up used for like 40 bucks. I picked this one up off trade. The guy, he was using it, but it got hot, and especially here, he had a dark BMW, and so it's going to get just hot, and he was running it really hard. And we ended up swapping it out for, well, I got this plus $90 for the Recoil version. The Class D, the DI series, DI 550.4. Yeah. And the other one was, I told you about the Walmart amp. Let's do a preview to get your boner going on that one. I opened this one up, and I was really impressed with it. It's, of course, again, it's light like this Pioneer one. But I want to open it up and look at the guts. And this is the one that I showed you guys. I think I did a post on this. I can't remember which social media platform it was, but it's just a blank amplifier. That's it. That's it. It's got my finger smudges on it, but that's it. So that's the only badging that it has on it. And so I'm going to have my buddy Jeremy Dad that does the graphics. And so what I'm going to do is basically a banner across here that has a base cut vinyl of black so that it blends in, and then we'll do some sort of brand on top of it. But that's the way you cover that, of course, because it's super misleading. But I want to have minimalist badging on it, and then of course I'll save that for the other video. But I wanted to show you that. And this fucker was only $53 shipped, man. And I'll sell it for at least $100, $120. And you guys can do the same thing. You don't have to wait for me. You don't have to ask permission. In fact, I would love to see your guys' creativity on what you can rebadge. And also just buying stuff local that's used, and being the guy that's smart enough to test it, or to bring a test rig with you when you're buying an amplifier or a subwoofer or something like that. Because there are lots and lots of great deals out there that are on OfferUp and Let Go and Facebook Marketplace. People just have a lot of stuff. They don't know what it is, or whatever. Their boyfriend's in jail or whatever, and they need to get rid of, and they want to turn it into money. And that's where you can come in, and you're like, hey, I'll take care of this for you. Like, I'll get these free all the time. And you can too. And then, of course, what I do is I throw them in as part of the deal. And they go, oh my God, I can't believe you gave me that cap for free. I'm like, yeah, because I got it for free too. Could I sell it for $20? Sure. I don't want to go through the process of that. I want to show you guys that it's better to do a combo like this for $300 rather than sell one woofer and make $40, $50. Sell the whole combo, and my cost is probably about half, so $150. $150, and then I'll sell it for $300. And you can do the same thing, and you don't always have to buy wholesale. Sometimes like these, I told you about these. These are one of my favorite subs. This needs a little TLC, and I put a gasket on it from the JL, and it works really well. Now it's a little ugly. Somebody jizzed on it a little bit with the whatever, but it sounds really good. And so if I can figure out a way to not necessarily put it in a bandpass, or maybe it would be really, really great for home theater. That's what it would really be great for, where people can just hear it. And then of course my cost on it was probably like $20, and the gasket cost me like $5, $10, whatever it is. And then I'll sell it for $50, $60. Now, again, you don't really want to sell just the woofer on its own, because that's a different client. Anybody that wants to buy a woofer on their own, they typically know way more than the regular schmo. And so what you really want to do is create a package so that people have a whole solution to buy. And you'd be surprised how many people buy an entire solution. You're like, and that's what Apple does. Apple sells you a whole, what do they call it? It's not just a solution, but it's like a network and a culture. They sell you the culture of Apple when you're buying into Apple. And you know, I mean, if you like it, that's great. It just tells me that you're kind of dumb and you have too much money, but and that's fine too. I don't want to judge really hot girls like that, you know, because that's the way they solve their problems. So that's fine. But my videos are not for those people. My videos are for like sweaty, gross guys that are poor and love bass and love music, and you learn enough to where you it starts to not serve you anymore, meaning you start acquiring too much stuff. Like I had some guy text me today with his amp collection, and I was like, oh my god, he had like fucking 100 amplifiers, and I felt bad for his spouse or his mom or whoever he lives with, and because when he dies, they got to get rid of that stuff, and they don't know how to get rid of that stuff. And so they're going to let it go for really cheap, which is good, of course, if you're acquiring it, but it's bad for his family. So again, that's the pull is, you know, who are you rooting for? Me, I'm rooting for you guys to create a living at home and you know, cottage industry. Cottage industry is something that you work out of your house, and you know, like being an installer or whatever. Being a golden shower technician, somebody that you know, can work out of their house. And that's how I got started. And I met a lot of really great people along the way, a lot of shitty people, but one of those people was Dan Wiggins from Adair, and he was totally like amped up to help me, and he helped me several times. He gave me the tip about when he sold the Adair to what's his ding dong, Hemp Acoustics. Petrie? I forget his name. Anyways, he was a dickhead, and that guy stiffed everybody, and then ran back to Canada, and they left all the inventory. He didn't even want the inventory, and there was like stacks and stacks of magnets and frames, which I still have from that clearance. But I ended up buying a bunch of stuff from Dan and Adair and all that kind of stuff, and he was really good about that. And then when Dave at Matt's was considering liquidating and then just buying directly from China built juggernauts, he liquidated those, and I got the phone call, and so it was really cool. And I want to be that guy for you guys. I want to tell you about like this right here, this deal that I got on the PS69s. That is it's a power bass, of course. And of course, power bass doesn't really exist. It's just a brand of Chinese stuff that some factory already makes, and then they just put a sticker on the back. That's the only badging on those. And it's a hole filler. However, it's got a little wizard cone on it, and it actually sounds really good. And I got them for super cheap. I can't remember what they were. It was like it's been paid for way many times. And I think I was selling cases. I can't remember what I was selling for. Basically $25 a pair, which is still cheap even for you guys. And then what I wanted to encourage you guys to do was do something really fancy, like what's called a curved linear array, where you have like this is the side view of a large tower, and it's on that surface right there. It's filled with 6x9s, all pointed equidistant to the listener. And you have 2 towers of those. That's all you need for home audio. And you know, build them nice, but you know, make them furniture grade finish, and then sell them for $3,000 to $5,000 based on some speakers that you got for $12 each. That's a good deal, and that's a good deal for you. And of course, I have a ton of ideas like that, but I can't execute all of them. And so that's why I learned how to master this part of it, which was the acquisition. And that's the best, that's probably the most important part to master is the acquisition part, and to have the connections to to get the stuff for super cheap, because then you can do like what I do, which is you have it in storage, and it's dry storage. It lasts for years and years and years, which gives you plenty of time in order to turn it into cash, to liquidate it. And of course, that's when you want to liquidate to retail if you can, or again, you use retail as the benchmark, and then you just price below that. So here's another one I got, which was the LS40s Soundstorm, which of course is Boss, which again Boss doesn't really exist. Boss is just a brand. These are already made by a Chinese factory. And again, these are really great because they play down to about 110 hertz. And I wanted to use a baffle, like this is a speaker baffle. And I wanted to use, I think it was like, I forget how many, it was like a whole square of them. So let's say this is 5 and then it's 5. So 25 of them wired in series parallel to get whatever impedance that I wanted. And then I wanted to have a subwoofer below. And I wanted to like feel the mid-range, and they're just super screamers in a meditation room. So there's plans I have for a meditation room that is modular and deluxe, and is sold, financed to hippies and things like that. People that think that stuff is really high value but don't have a lot of money. And so that's where you have to come in and give them a product or a solution that they can afford. And there's the bullet tweeters, passive radiators. I want to do a video on how to tune those to show you guys. Probably don't have enough time. There's the 12-inch versions. All those from Concept. We got linear actuators that I got to go through. 200 millimeter, 300 millimeter, 450 millimeter, and then we even have some really long ones. Again, those are really great. If you guys want those, I can do them for like 20 bucks each, which is half price on what you can find them on Amazon. Again, what you use them for, I don't know. A lot of people use them to open up awnings and doors and like their truck beds and things like that. As far as automation goes on. Oh yeah, here's the automation. Let me finish my sentence. Automation on their vehicles and things like that. Sometimes people use them in subwoofer enclosures, big subwoofer enclosures, to tune the port, because you can extend the actuator or retract it, and you can tune the port that way. So, but no, these were a couple of samples that we got from Concept, and of course that's, see, remember that symbol? That's XY. This is a 15-inch cone that of course needs an adapter, but it's got a nice rubber surround. It is pretty old, but I want to try to make a couple of subwoofers like this, because I do have the adapters, which actually come from a different company, Tian Li, that made for Audio Pulse, and do something like that require the shim to come out the butthole. This is a passive from Definitive Technologies. These are other passives that I got from the Concept buyout, which is Avalon. They made for those guys. Really nice, good looking woofer. Again, I typically just go with a slot port rather than a passive. Typically you only want to use a passive when you don't have room for a big box. And then I'll teach you guys how to tune those. I think that was it. I'm getting sweaty. It's time for me to take a shower. Oh, that's the other one I wanted to show you, was these guys. Got these in on trade. This is a cheap pile woofer. I've also seen the same version from MTX under their acoustic brand, which here locally in Arizona, Phoenix metro area, they had a what's it called, a yard sale? Spring cleaning. Sometimes they have it in the spring. It's basically to clear all their old inventory and their returns and things like that, B-stock. And they had a whole bunch of those acoustic woofers, and I sold pallets of them. It was fucking great, and people had tons of bass, at least for a weekend, until they fried them. This is a duplicate of that. This is the Pile version. Pile, of course, is owned by Pyramid Group, and these are actually really good woofers. They're really great for home audio. I think these are dual 4. So yeah, you can wire them in series and then use them for 8 ohm on a receiver. They're not super high bass. It's not for that. But you could also use them in a PA or even a DJ application when you don't want to use a lot of electricity. When you do have a lot of power, because power is cheap now, especially for DJs and things like that, that's when you want to use a car woofer, heavy duty car woofer. And then you're like, oh my God, it's amazing bass and it's so deep. It's like, yep, that's what happens when you don't use PA fucking woofers anymore. You have something with some excursion. So, oh, I wanted to show you some of this too. Just some equipment. So there's a lot of, all this is for sale, of course. This was a big amp I thought was really impressive. It's a Crystron, what is it? There you go, that, whatever that is. There you go. 12 by 60, 12 channels by 60 watts. And of course that can be useful in all sorts of applications. Mostly what this is used by is for rich people who have multi-zones throughout their house, and you want to be able to control each zone. And sometimes there's really fancy controls associated with that, but I don't get into that. I would love to use this for like testing DSP, when you have a DSP with lots of channels, and especially if you're using it at home, you don't need any more than about 60 watts for most listening, especially the mids and the tweeters and things like that. For subs, that's when you get a big old rack mount, big woofer thing. Oh, I got a big 5,000 watt amp too. I got 2 of them. Oh, and there's my switcher. I got to get that going again. Yeah, if there's anything you guys see, whatever, just receivers. I pick up a lot of stuff, and then also I get a lot of donations. People will just go, we really like what you're doing, and you have a large penis, so here's free stuff. And I go, oh, thank you. And that's how that works. So I still cringe when I see this. This is Jeffrey, Bob Schmoop, who decided to, is this one? Yeah, this one's cut. He cut this because I'm like, why didn't you just use a piece of wood? And he's like, well, I thought it was like junk. And I'm like, no, this is like a super rare fucking shroud for an amplifier, and you're using it as a shelf support? Oh, god damn. That one hurt. That one hurt bad. But I got those 2. That's how you learn, right? You fuck up. That's how you learn. I think that was it. There's some more stuff, more equipment. Oh, another big one. That's a bunch of channels in the back of that one. You guys I've been getting requests for this type of video, which is like a shop update, and because you guys don't like listening to my Sunday sermons, even though I swear to baby Jesus, the real value that I have on this planet is in the Sunday sermons, not in the fucking shop updates. But you guys are so visceral and impatient, and just, you want sex all the time, and this is a good substitute for sex. Oh, we're out of the 3000s. I'm out of the 1 ohm 3000s that were right here. We have that many left of the 5000s, which are still 350 shipped, and then I also have 2 of the 8Ks left, and you'll see that in the description. Those are only 450 each shipped, and they're blank. Right now I'm out of Gonzo stickers. I'm out of Jizz Llama stickers, because you guys are maniacs. You're like, I want to show Jizz Llama. And it's a good joke. It's a good joke, I'm telling you. I got this big old home receiver in trade. I want to pair it up with those bookshelves right there, those guys. But I have yet to test them. And I'm not motivated, because dealing with people that want to buy that kind of stuff is kind of annoying. I'd rather deal with regular dudes that want some bass. That's really what I want to do. Regular dudes that show up and they go, how much is this? 160? Like for 212s and an amp and a box? And I go, yep. And they're like, boom, done. $200, $300. That's where your that's where your money's really at. Your bread and butter is in not in hitting on big grand slam, but in hitting singles and doubles. That's where you got to aim. Because that's your mainstream market, and it's so much easier than trying to sell, some rare piece of equipment to like there's only like 3 dudes in the whole country that even know what that is, and then 2 of them already have it. So you're looking for that one guy that knows what it is and wants it and has the money for it, which is not always the case. A lot of times the guys want it, of course, but they don't have the money. because they've, you know, they have a collection like this at home where they're like, oh yeah, I'm saving for these for when they're valuable, and it's like, oh, you're an idiot. No, this is for sale. This is all for sale. I just happen to collect all these. My family, the rest of my family, my biological family, they're all Pat Rack, and they just collect stuff and they hang on to it. Like my brother has like 8 backpacks, weird shit, OCD stuff, childhood trauma. I have been able to harness my OCD and use it for good and things like that. So I think I'm just a little preoccupied. It's hot and I'm thirsty and I'm tired and I'm ready to go to bed. But I know early in the day, but I really been liking getting up early, eating, and then like doing a little bit of work. Like I'll jizz on a couple of woofers with some epoxy, and then I'll go take a nap. And that's been nice. But other than that, the only thing that I've been focused on lately was building more of the Vato Extremes, the 12s especially. That has like been a really good sweet spot for a lot of you guys. It's a really high performance woofer. I kind of want to do a breakdown on it to show you the guts on it, and also show you the parameters and things like that. And there's nothing really on the market that compares to it, because it uses a 2.5-inch coil. I would actually compare it to the JL Audio 12W7, because the performance as far as power goes is the same. It's actually got more BL because it's got more punch. It's got a smaller coil. I think I don't know if I ever mentioned that to you guys. When you go with a smaller coil, you actually get more BL because there's more windings in the gap. And a company like a brand like Image Dynamics was famous for this. They would have like a pretty beefy stop magnet like this, but they would put a 2-inch coil on it, and then the rest of it was all like heat dissipation and things like that, in order to get rid of all the heat, because that's the bad thing about having a small coil, is that they're not good at getting rid of heat because they don't have enough surface area. And I think I got an Image Dynamics motor in, which I despise because it's a weird size, and so I can't use it. And so what I've done in the past is I pop the top off, the top plate off, and then I take it to the machine shop and have it opened up and then pop it back on, or I change it to something different or whatever. So something with a better, I can put a big floppy copper coil in instead of a really tiny light aluminum coil that's super thin and doesn't handle a lot of thermal mass. So, but I think that's it. Send me more of your questions. Try to be as specific as possible. If it's just a generic question, I'll probably send you to go read the loudspeaker cookbook, which is, I really want to help develop I don't want to say army, but I guess that's the better word for it. A league of subwoofer intellectuals that can then use their superpowers to make money and free themselves from a 9-to-5. That's the magic in my life, and it's a great path, and I highly recommend it. And I spent a good decade with one leg in and one leg out, with the wife working a job, and we used to be able to qualify for all kinds of loans. And it's a different story now, and my numbers are different now, but that's actually the best way, is actually live a hybrid life where your wife, your spouse, partner works and has a regular job, so you can qualify for loans. And then what happens is you use the revenue you generate from this kind of stuff, and your weekend jobs, weekend gigs, you pay off all of her credit cards. So it looks like you're making, like you have more money, or you're better with your credit than you actually are. And so that's actually the best way to go, because then you can still qualify for a house. I didn't know I had this. I gotta flip that. I gotta put some woofers in it. Oh, I'll use that for the AudioPipe ones when I redo them. But that's actually the best way to go. So, and it's also good for you as a human to have a partner, so that you can learn how to compromise and live with them. It helps too if they're interested in doing the same thing. It doesn't always work when somebody doesn't want to compromise and doesn't want to be nice to you and things like that. Speaking from experience. But anyways, I love you guys, and I will talk to you later.